Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another 10 pens currently inked for this week. I think let's go through these briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have the Banu Talisman and this is the Tiger's Eye. We have a Mr. Cypress and this is Maple in the Forest. We have a Anoto and this is a Cult Pens exclusive called the Christmas Cow. We have an Anoto Christmas Cow 2022. And we have two Anoto Christmas Cow 2023. One in gold trim and gold gilding. And the other in silver trim and silver gilding. We have an Anoto Platinum Jubilee overlay. We have a Conway Stewart, and this is the Coronation in sterling silver. We have a Mr. Cypress Arden Dragon, and we have a Visconti Homo Sapiens Bronze Age Lava. So I think let's take a look at these pens in more detail here. So this is the Benu, and this is the Talisman, which is a slightly shorter model than compared to the Euphoria. The Euphoria is a model that I personally prefer, but this is a beautiful tiger's eye, and I knew that when I saw this at the London Pen Show in autumn last year. Derek at Stonecott Fine Writing Supplies had all three of these pens. There's the cat's eye, there's the hawk's eye, and the tiger's eye, and I knew that I would be picking up at some point the tiger's eye, because this one really does speak to me. I like the orange and brown and black in here. It really does remind me of a tiger's eye. I like the gold glitter in here as well. It really is quite a beautiful pen. So from that perspective, I did pick this one up. And this has a number 6 size Schmidt broad nib. I was tempted a medium nib, but to be honest, I've got some medium nibs anyway. And I decided I would go with a broad nib. You can post the cap on this pen. It's actually very comfortable in doing so. It's not back weighted or anything. I think it's well balanced when you post that cap. But even without posting the cap, it still is a fairly good length in the size of my hand. It is a cartridge converter pen, and I got that inked up today with an orange ink. The next pen here is the Mr. Cypress, and this is Maple in the Forest, or Maple Leaf as I prefer to call it normally. Beautiful maple leaves on this pen. Really is quite stunning. It's urushi, it's on ebonite, it's maquillé. Beautiful technique here. You can feel every vein in these leaves. It's not a smooth finish. You can actually feel the texture. So if you like a texture to your pen, this is actually quite nice. If I unscrew the cap, you'll see a very glittery, sort of bronzy, brassy coloured glitter there, with a number 6 size Mr. Cypress 14 karat gold medium nib. This is a cartridge converter. Unfortunately, even though it's cigar shaped, you cannot post the cap on this one. To be honest, it's not a pen that I would post the cap on, especially with all of this gold here. But it is unfortunately a pen that you cannot post, so you just have to bear that one in mind. Again, this is a cartridge converter pen, but this really is stunning. You can see there up close all of those maple leaves. It really is a beautiful pen. The next pen inked up is the Anoto, and this is a Cult Pens exclusive. This is the Christmas Cow, and I think it was from 21 or 22. But interestingly enough, there were only 10 of these made. And I got number 9 out of 10. And I don't know why. Like, I picked this up in summer of 23. And I was just amazed that these didn't sell for some reason. And I can only think that maybe it's because it's a Christmas pen. Maybe a lot of people don't want Christmassy sort of ivy and snowflakes on a pen, perhaps. Other than that, I really don't know. I personally think it's an attractive pen, I know a lot of you, after watching the review, have also said the same thing. So I don't know why it didn't sell, but I'm glad it didn't, because I was able to pick this one up. And I picked it up with a steel nib, because that's what came with it. It's an Anoto number 7 size steel broad nib. And as you can see here, I've got a lot of glitter in that pen. It's a shimmer ink that I've got in the pen. You can post the cap, and it will post deeply and securely. I guess it does feel slightly back-weighted, probably because of the amount of silver in this clip. But I find that it's actually better weighted without the cap on being posted. It's a decent size in my hand, and I think that it's actually well balanced as it is. And I know a lot of people want to have a well balanced pen, and to do that, posting the cap helps like counterweight the pen a little bit. But personally, I prefer not to try and fight with a back weighted pen. I prefer to have most of the weight to the front of the nib. It just, to me, feels better weighted. The next pen here I picked up in October at the London Pen Show in last year, 23. And this was the Christmas Cow 2022 edition. And I picked this up from Anoto. I really had missed out on this. After buying this one, I saw this one online, the 2022 model. And I kind of kicked myself that I missed out. I knew about this pen around the December timeframe, but I also know that it sold very quickly because there were only 22 ever made. This is 00, so it's a prototype. It's the second prototype. So I was lucky enough to just mention to Anoto that I was kind of sort of unhappy that I had missed out on this, and they said that they actually had a prototype. So I bought the prototype and paid for it and collected it at the London Pen Show. And I have to say, I love this green. It's a diffusion bonded acrylic there, and you can just see how well that shines. I got a number 7 size Anoto nib. It's a medium nib, 18 karat gold. This is a cartridge converter pen. Now, the only thing with the prototype I've got here, and I've seen this with a few, is that the cap will not actually grip. So it is a prototype, so yeah, I can kind of understand why. It's just a shame, but then again, I don't post my cap, so it doesn't really bother me. But it is something that I have noticed, though, on this pen. It's a cartridge converter, though. I'd say the majority of Anotos do post, and it's just every now and then I think I've got maybe 2 now that won't post. Well, actually 2 in this tray. There might be a third one possibly. And then, last Christmas I picked up the 2023 edition ones, and this is the tortoiseshell in gold trim and gold gilding, which is this here. And you can see it's a beautiful tortoiseshell colour. It's not diffusion bonded acrylic, as I understand it. It's just a tortoiseshell resin, but this is quite nice. So if I unscrew the cap, you'll see a number 7 size Anoto 18 karat gold medium nib. Again, this is cartridge converter. I can post the cap, and it will post quite securely there. So you can do that. But you will notice, though, that the band width here is slightly different to that on the cap because the diameter on the cap is bigger. So it's not always going to line up 100%. Now, this was a numbered edition of 23, and I got number 7 from Anoto. And then I also at the same time picked up this one, which was basically the same tortoiseshell coloured Anoto, Christmas Cow 2023, but with silver trim and silver gilding. And also you've got a silver cap finial there of Anoto, and also it says number 7 of 23 there. So 23 were made of this, and that is it. 23, and I'm guessing probably with the addition of 1 or 2 prototypes. I also got a number 7 Anoto 18 karat gold medium nib on this one as well. And can you post the cap? Yes, you can do so as well. These are actually fairly comfortable. I'd say it's just slightly back weighted, not much, but just slightly. But you can post those caps if you wish to. So that's another good thing there about the Anotos, is that typically a lot of the Anotos, maybe with exception to the sterling silver models, you can post the caps on. The next pen here is an Anoto, and it's the Platinum Jubilee. This is the overlay. So this is a resin, and this I've got the sterling silver model, which is a little bit longer, but I always liked this model here, being the resin. So the black pinstripe here with the cap that you can see there. So this is the Platinum Jubilee. So I decided I would pick this one up, and I picked this one up actually the same time as the Christmas Cow 2022 prototype. This was at the London Pen Show. Now, you can, with some Anotos, get a brass barrel insert, and that adds additional weight. I haven't got it on this pen. I do find this pen a little bit lighter, but it could be because I'm holding a very heavy sterling silver overlay cap. You can post the cap, but again, a little bit like the prototype here, this cap will just turn. It will not grip. So again, like, that's just something to bear in mind with some of these Anotos. They don't always grip 100%. I did get a Anoto number 7 size medium 18 karat gold nib there. It is a cartridge converter as well. And I have to say, I am liking cartridge converters a lot more recently. I used to hate or loathe them because I always used to run out of ink very quickly. And to be honest, I still do. But I think I've come to love them more than I used to, purely because they're easier to clean and also easier to replace the converters if they were to fail. That said, I think I've only had probably 2 or 3 converters ever fail, and but even when they do fail, they're normally around about £5, €5, $5 to replace. So it's an easy repair tactic. The next pen here inked up is the Conway Stuart. This is a Coronation sterling silver, and you can see the king's head there on the cap finial, and 121 of 250. So 250 of these were made. You've got this beautiful guilloche pattern going on here on the sterling silver. Now, it is a sterling silver over resin, so it's a black resin cap, black resin section, and the body here is if I unscrew this, you'll notice it is a black resin body with a sterling silver overlay. Now, this is a cartridge converter pen as well, just like the Anotos. I can post the cap, and it will post deeply and securely, but I do find it is more back weighted because of the amount of silver on this cap. I did get this is a Conway Stuart nib made by Yovo. It's a number 6 size nib, 18 karat gold, medium nib there. But I have to say, I am really loving how that writes. And I've got some other Conway Stuarts. I've got some Churchills. I've got a blue Stardust, a red Stardust. I had a bracket green at one point that I did sell because I just wasn't as happy with the colour, the material. I'm not that into. It was more of a green pen, and I'm not that. I guess I'm not that into sort of a darker olivey green colour. And I've got, I think, a Series 100 in the Red Stardust as well. So I've got a few Conway Stewarts, and I think I probably will add some more to my collection over this year. The next pen inked up is this one, and it is the stunning Mr. Cypress Arden Dragon. And you can see here that dragon's head right here on that cap. Absolutely beautiful. And as I twist this, you'll see the abalone shell just comes to life as it sparkles. It's a beautiful pen. You've got winds there on the cap finial and also on the blind cap as well. A beautiful pen, so colourful. And I have to say, this is a pen I really love. And I do love writing with. It's got a Mr. Cypress 14 karat gold, number 6 medium nib there, and it's a really good size in my hand. You can't post the cap because it is a flat top pen, but this is very, very comfortable to write with, and I do love how this nib writes. Mr. Cypress branded nibs are made by Can Write in India, as I understand it. Some of them are very finer nibs, so a medium might turn out to be a little bit more like a fine, Western fine. And also the tipping typically isn't as much as you would perhaps find on, say, a Western medium. It would be more like a Western fine or a Western extra fine. So the tipping is normally a lot less that you would see on those nibs, but I have to say, I've got a bunch of those now. I think it's 8, maybe 9. And I'd have to say that they all, majority of them write pretty well. I've had to tune a few nibs, but this one was perfect out of the box. And then the last pen inked up is this one. Pen I had not written with, I think, in the whole of 23. At least from what I can recall. It's the Visconti Homo Sapiens Bronze Age Lava. It's made from grinding up basaltic lava from Mount Etna, mixing it with a resin to create this very durable finish, which you can see there has got a little bit of white sort of pitting going on. That's the lava. I've got my initials here on the cap finial. It's a power vac. You've got the hook safe lock, quarter of a turn mechanism, and I've got the older Visconti 23 cap palladium number 6 size nib. It's a fine nib, but I do like those nibs. You can post the cap on this as well, and it will post, but again, it's a little bit back weighted, but I do like this pen a lot. And a friend of mine has been telling me I need to write more with my Viscontis, and I know a lot of you have also been saying there's no Viscontis in that pen tray, so I've been writing with a lot of my newer pens, and they just happen to not be Viscontis. So I decided I'd have to start going back and writing with some of those Viscontis. So I got this one inked up again this week. I think that's now maybe the 3rd week in a row, I think, for this one. So that's quite interesting. I'm going to try and ink up a few more Viscontis as well. So there you have it. That's my 10 pens currently inked for this week. I think let's now go and do a writing sample. So the first pen inked up this week is the Benu, and this is a talisman in the Tiger's Eye. So I think let's go and do an ink swatch. And I did think about getting this in a medium nib, but I then thought, well, I'm either going to be putting an orange ink or brown ink in this pen. So I thought I would possibly do an orange ink, and I thought a broad nib would be better. So this is the Benu Talisman Tiger's Eye in a broad, and it's a steel nib, it's a Schmidt nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine Blaze Orange, which I do think is a good coloured ink, but I will probably maybe swap it out for brown ink at some point, but I think I will enjoy continuing writing with that pen for the time being. The next pen inked up is the Mr. Cypress Maple in the Forest. And we'll do an ink swatch here as well. Now, this is a medium nib, but it still writes quite nice. I do find that this ink, though, is a little bit more on the drier side. So this is the Mr. Cypress Maple in the Forest. And it's a medium, and it's a 14 karat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Raden, Amber, de Bermanie. And this was an ink that I was contemplating putting into this pen, into the Banu Talisman. And then I thought, well, I've got it inked up in this pen, so I won't. But I also then, I think I was searching for tea fountain pens, and just to see if there were any others like Earl Grey tea, things like that. And then it showed me a bunch of inks, and it reminded me I actually have Raden Lee de Tay, and I think that one would be a good ink to put into this pen eventually. So maybe I'll ink that up once I run that Blaze Orange dry. The next pen inked up is the Anoto Cult Pens exclusive Christmas Carol. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now, this one is a broad nib, and I'm really glad it's a broad nib because I've got a shimmer ink in here. So this is Anoto Cult Pens, and it's the Christmas Cow. Now, Anoto did do a Christmas Cow just like this, but it was green golding, not gold. Sorry, green gilding, not gold gilding. And I think I prefer the gold gilding on this, to be honest. So this is a broad, and it's a steel nib. Now, Anoto, their gold nibs are made by Bock. The steel nibs are now made by Yovo, and have been for a number of years. The ink in here is Vinter, which is a Cult Pens exclusive, and it's Whiskey Gold. And I do believe actually it's without the E, but I just put an E in there because with an E is Scots or Scotch whiskey, and without an E is Irish whiskey, if you didn't know. Now, I'm just trying to think how many bottles. I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I got 5 bottles of that ink now. It's only, I think, 30 millilitres a bottle, I think. So it might even be 20 actually. So I maybe 30. So I will probably not need to buy any more of that ink, but I still want to buy more. The next pen inked up is the Anoto Christmas Cow 2022, and this is the prototype. So we'll do an ink swatch. And I like the matching colour of ink that I've got with this pen. I nearly almost inked it up with Meadow, but I know that I've got another Anoto green, the Chase Magna Classic in green, and that's inked up with Meadow, Diamond Meadow. So this one I decided to ink up with a different green, and I really like the comparison. So this is the Anoto Christmas Cow 2022 prototype, and it's a medium, and it's an 18 karat gold nib, and the ink in here is Diamine Apple Glory, which is a beautiful apple green coloured ink. The next pen inked up is the Anoto Christmas Cow 2023 in gold. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And I know what some of you may say, it's not Christmas now. Why are you writing with a Christmas pen? Well, it's a pen. I can write with it all year round. Just because it might be Christmas themed doesn't mean that it has to be just for Christmas. So this is the Anoto Christmas Cow 2023, and it's the gold. And it's a medium, and it's an 18-karat gold nib. So these are Bock nibs. And then the ink in here is Herban Ambre de Bermanie. Now, you're going to see the difference between this one here and this one. This writes more wetter, so it's going to be a little bit darker in ink colour. The next pen inked up is the Anoto Christmas Cow 2023 in silver. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now, I was tempted to put shimmer ink in these, but because they got medium nibs, even though they're wet writers, I just didn't want to risk it. Typically, medium nibs, I find, do not write as well with shimmer ink. You could get away with it, but it's better if you've got a broad nib. So this is the Anoto Christmas Cow 2023 in silver. Again, it's a medium, and it's an 18-karat gold Bock nib. And the ink in here is KWZ Old Smoke, which is the latest UK pen shows, or London pen show, to be more specific, featured ink. So this is their exclusive ink from the pen show. I did buy 2 bottles of this. I didn't get it at the show because I wanted another 2 bottles of Beefeater Red, which was the first London pen show ink. And then I wanted 2 bottles of Newcastle Brown Ale, or Newquay Brown Ale, which again were the next colour of ink exclusive. So with that, so 2 of each, so that was 6 bottles. So I ordered it in the end because they didn't have the Beefeater or the Newquay Brown. So I'm glad that came through. I'm really liking this colour. It is a smoky grey. The next pen inked up is the Anoto Platinum Jubilee Overlay. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And this is quite a nice ink. And I just need to double check that, because I might find... Yeah, I wanted to say this was Diamine Earl Grey, but it's not. So this is the Anoto Platinum Jubilee Overlay. And it's a medium, and it's an 18-karat gold nib. And this is becoming one of my more favourite grey inks, as well as KWZ Old Smoke. This is Diamine Graphite, and this is a much darker grey than Earl Grey. It's almost a black, and in wet writing nibs, it's definitely almost a black. The next pen inked up is the Conway Stuart, and this is a Coronation in sterling silver. We'll do an ink swatch here. Now, this will give you a bit of a comparison, because this is inked up with Diamine Earl Grey. So this is the Conway Stuart Coronation in a medium, 18-karat gold nib. And the ink, as I mentioned, is Diamine Earl Grey. Now, Diamine Earl Grey can look darker if it's in a very wet or broader nib. But I would say that's probably what I normally would see. So I think, obviously, this one is KWZ, it's Old Smoke. So this is the lightest of the three greys, then Diamine Earl Grey, and then Diamine Graphite. But I think that's a nice selection of greys there. The next pen inked up is the Mr. Cypress, and this is the Arden Dragon. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now, this also is Diamine Earl Grey. So we'll see how that turns out in comparison to the Conway Stuart. So this is Mr. Cypress, and I'd already say that this is looking darker in the writing sample, and maybe the ink swatch as well. So this is the Arden Dragon in a medium 14 karat gold nib, and the ink, as I mentioned, is Diamine Earl Grey. And I might actually at some point put Diamine Graphite in there, being a black pen. I think that might look quite nice as well. And then the last pen inked up is the Visconti Homo Sapiens Bronze Age, and this is the Basaltic Lava. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this is, although being a fine nib, is still quite a wet writer. So this is the Visconti Homo Sapiens Bronze Age. They did a Steel Age and a Dark Age. I've got the Dark Age, not the Steel Age. And this is a fine, and it's a 23 karat palladium nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine Ochre, which is a nice brown ink. So I think let's now take a look at these pens ink one more time. We've got the Banu Talisman Tiger's Eye in a broad steel nib inked up with Diamine Blaze Orange. We have a Mr. Cypress Maple in the Forest in a medium 14 karat gold nib inked up with Raden Amber de Burmany. We have an Anoto Colt Pens Christmas Cow in a broad steel nib inked up with Vinter Colt Pens Whiskey Gold. We have an Anoto Christmas Cow 2022 prototype in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Apple Glory. We have an Anoto Christmas Cow 2023 in the gold trim and gilding in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Raden Amber de Burmany. And you can see the difference between the two here. This one is certainly a lot more darker. We have an Anoto Christmas Cow 2023 in the silver trim and gilding in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with KWZ Old Smoke. We have an Anoto Platinum Jubilee Overlay in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Graphite. We have a Conway Stuart Coronation in sterling silver in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Earl Grey. We have a Mr. Cypress Arden Dragon in a medium 14 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Earl Grey. And then we have a Visconti Homo Sapiens Bronze Age in a fine 23 karat palladium nib inked up with Diamine Ochre. So there you have it. That's my current ink pens for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.